I was one of the people that fell into the clutches of Uma Musume. I'm going to make the thing just a little bit bigger. I feel like right there is pretty good. And this is a video talking about Uma Musume. But before we start the video, since I now know that YouTube changed it up, changes how they do stuff, we're going to give our boy a like so that way it counts.
Meet Jiankui He, a Chinese scientist who had created a genetically
Getting dropped by a gold ship will do that for you. I got to do a gold ship run. I want to do a Top Gun run, and I want to do a gold ship run.
modified baby, breaking every ethical law regarding genetic research and being sentenced to jail for 3 years back in 2019. After being released, he would somewhat disappear for a while until he got access to social media, most namely Twitter. And in classic supervillain fashion.
By the way, the name of this video is The Chaotic History of the Horse Girl Game That Took Over the World, Uma Musume. So I'm assuming that's the guy, it's about the guy that made it. And I mean, hey, the game freaking took over my brain, so this guy obviously knows what he's doing.
He would tweet out, "Every pioneer or prophet must suffer while staring intently at the camera," all while continuing his genetic research like nothing had happened. This would, of course, make him go viral, but what were people's reactions here? Were they shocked? Were they outraged? Were they scared? No, they kept spamming him, pestering him even, with one request. Eventually, there will be so many people requesting the same thing that he had to make an entire post responding to it, saying, "Stop asking for cat girls, I'm trying to cure disease."
He didn't make cat girls.
This dude was sentenced to jail for creating genetically modified babies and forging the ethical paperwork. But the only thing people were concerned with was cat girls. Yeah, I mean, it comes as no surprise, guys. Anime girls have taken over the world.
True.
But look, if the movie Ratatouille has taught me anything in life, it's...
Oh, I like the way he said that. Ratatouille. I want to hear that one more time.
Girls have taken over the world. But look, if the movie Ratatouille has taught me...
That was good.
Anything in life, it's that things are better when combined together. And so some of the most intelligent people on planet Earth saw cats and thought, wow, this is really cute and adorable, like
That's a super soft R. I'm only used to saying hard R's.
Anime girls. Why don't we combine them and create cat girls? The result?
I'm gonna get
A
canceled, I swear.
massive success. This, of course, made even more people think, until a particular group of people came up with a very interesting idea. They thought, well, look, humans love cats, right? I'm sure they love dogs too, but what's one animal that's been with us since the beginning? An animal humans share a very important bond with.
Horses.
Horses.
True.
So listen to this genius idea,
Corgi.
right? What if we took anime
It
girls
was a corgi.
and gave them horse ears and horse tails?
Now, special week, that's McQueen, and I think Meijiro. I'm slowly learning my horse girls.
Then we would put all these cute anime horse girls together on a track and have them race just like horses do during horse races. But get this, okay? Things don't end here because
Pasa Vodka, the Texan. I forget her actual name because I call her the Texan, and I'm not sure who the one with that little like white swish in her hair is. Not Vodka.
these horse girls are living a double life. When they're not racing on the horse track, they're idols,
Cool chip.
dancing and singing in top-tier performances to a
Heyo,
massive
right.
audience. Sounds absolutely insane, right? I mean, seriously, horse girls, anime horse girls racing on...
That's what I was saying. That's why I was so confused, but I'm in it now. This the game that I've been into the most probably since Apex Legend, because I was super into Apex for a good while. I've been pretty into horse girls, so...
on a track. You've got to be shitting me, man.
He's
The
hooked.
concept of gacha games is already niche. And horse girls in a gacha game, you won't find anyone to play this. Nope, I was severely wrong. Look at this chart just on Steam with a
Huge. Those are actually insane numbers.
peak of 87,000 people playing at
And that's just Steam, mind you.
the same time.
You haven't been hooked enough to play off stream yet. I have been playing off stream. I've actually been playing daily off stream now. I just haven't done any of my roles yet. I saved my roles for on stream, and I'm not ashamed. I'm actually really proud of myself.
That's not all though. The game hasn't even been out for 1 month globally and has already reached over 1 million downloads on the Google Play Store. Still not surprised?
Danger
The game has
zone.
gotten so popular on Steam that it has beaten every single
Wait a second. It beat Counter-Strike? No way. Holy.
game on the platform to claim the #1 spot for most downloaded games in this current period. Now you might be thinking, okay, fine, maybe it's like this mass hysteria going on. Maybe this concept is so ridiculous people downloaded it, but then realized, it's not really for me, right? Look at
Support cards are greater than gun crates. True.
these reviews. 94% very positive with almost 15,000 reviews on Steam.
This is making me want to play. Watching this video is making me want to play. Actually, I think after I finish this video, I might boot up the Horse Girls.
Didn't just get downloaded a lot, it's now critically acclaimed. But if you're still somehow not shocked yet, well, get this. Gacha games are typically liked
Why is Vegeta obese?
by a very specific demographic, young adults who usually love anime. When it came to this Horse Girl Gacha racing game though, it reached children, their parents, and their grandparents.
That's me. I'm an old man. I'm an old man that enjoys Horse Girl game.
Doing the impossible and targeting every single conceivable demographic.
Yeah. Look. Right there. At the top right. That's me.
Guys, it doesn't matter where you go. The metro, the airport, your office, you will most likely see someone playing this on their phone. I say this with no exaggeration. Uma Musume Pretty Derby has taken over the planet. And I haven't seen a gacha game do this since Genshin Impact back during the pandemic. But if this
I had too much self-respect to play Genshin. Still do.
Still doesn't shock you for whatever reason, then get ready to get sucker punched in the face. Because that's exactly what happened to me when I started seeing headlines like this. Uma Musume developer Cygames is a title sponsor for Grand Prix de Paris, a prestigious...
Wait, they're sponsoring the Grand Prix? Holy moly, Horse Girls is making Horse Girl races IRL. Now just bring the actual Horse Girls to IRL, and then we're really talking.
Horse racing event founded in 1863. An event being held for almost 2 centuries. And their logo just happens to be on an image of an anime girl that is also a horse. What the fuck is going on? And how did we get here? Well, none of it was straightforward, and this game almost failed to release. Uma Musume Pretty Derby has a somewhat chaotic but also very interesting history. And
oh, is it going to be like Final Fantasy, where the reason it was called Final Fantasy because it was their last game, but it blew up? Is that what's going on here?
seeing how it's practically dominated the world, I figured we need to talk about it. So let's do this. Man, horses are such silly animals, but you know what other animals I like? Warships, warplanes, and war tanks, baby.
My favorite animal is AK-47.
And the best part about this is that I can find all these vehicles and 2,500 other variations in War Thunder, a vehicle combat game so comprehensive in details that it has over 70 million
Look at
players
me being a
on
good
all
guy and not
platforms,
skipping the
including
ad.
PC, consoles, and mobile devices. These vehicles are
That's
as detailed as possible, and they span multiple eras.
Man,
you can
War
then customize
Thunder
these
sure
vehicles
looks
to your
cool.
liking.
Thanks,
This leads us
Mugen.
to my favorite thing about War Thunder, the fact that there are no simple
showing me
hitboxes.
this cool
Every
dude
vehicle has
game.
engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and crew. That's the level of detail we're dealing with here. But wait, it
Military
gets
League
better,
honeypot
because if you're a new
game? I mean,
player
hey, if
or
they
a
wanna
returning
sponsor
player who
me,
hasn't played the game in
I'd
over
do
6 months, you get free premium vehicles, 100,000 silver lions, 7
you
days
can
of
buy,
premium account, and much
My Dignity.
more available for PC
kidding,
and
by the way.
consoles. So if you're interested, make sure
My
to get the game
Dignity
for
is
free by clicking the
free.
link in the description or the pinned comment. Thank you so much, War Thunder, for sponsoring this video. All right, guys, by now,
Or I
you
don't
know
have
the drill.
dignity,
To really
rather.
understand the significance of all this, we need context. And in this case, it's going to be a little history lesson. And we're going all the way back to the year 1603, the beginning
1603? Damn, I was like 10 around then.
of the Tokugawa period, otherwise known as the Edo period. This period would be the most traditional period in Japan, mostly because it would be incredibly isolated from the rest of the world. The people in power at the time feared outside influence. In fact, their biggest fear was Christianity. You'd have missionaries from European countries come in to spread the gospel, and people were converting fast. The Japanese leaders saw this as a way
I played Civ. I know what happens when people send missionaries to you. You declare war.
for Europe to slowly take control of Japan, so they took extreme measures. They completely locked down the country except for a select few traders who only had access to specific ports. Japanese people were not allowed to leave Japan, and if they did, they wouldn't be allowed back. And more importantly, Christianity was outlawed. the shogunate took extreme measures and massacred over 37,000 Japanese Christians, making it go almost extinct in Japan and ruling for over 2 centuries. This would all change in 1868, when the Tokugawa shogunate would lose its power and the Meiji Restoration would take its place. One could say that this period was the opposite of the Tokugawa shogunate's military rule, completely opening up the country, technologically advancing very quickly, and fully embracing the idea of an industrialized nation that can compete with Europe and North America. That way, they don't face the threat of colonization. During this new era, you'd start seeing more foreigners in Japan, like British and Americans, specifically around port towns. Their numbers would start becoming significant to the point where they'd start having their own communities built around those port towns. This is where, to kill time, Westerners would start playing the sports they knew, like rugby, cricket, and of course, baseball, which is now the most popular sport in Japan today. But according to the 500-page book titled Routledge Companion to Sports History, which outlines the origins of sports Japan all around the world, horse racing in Japan was introduced as early as 1862 by those same Westerners, and within just 8 years, the first jockey club in Kobe was formed in 1870. You see, the Japanese, much like the rest of the world, also had a special connection to horses. They also loved the idea of entertainment. So they latched onto this.
You know, as a quick side note, maybe the reason why I enjoy the Horse Girl game so much is because when I was a kid, my grandparents were super into going to the horse races. My mom would take my grandparents to the horse races, and I would go too because I was a little kid and I didn't have a choice. So maybe it's just like in my DNA, and that's why I fell in love with the game. It awoke something in me on an ancestral level.
Sport very quickly, as you can see from this old drawing. Japanese people are on their horses about to race,
or I'm just a sucker for cute anime horse girls.
Seen on the left here. And they're foreigners, they're Westerners. Today, it's seen as a prestigious sport, with the Japan Cup having some of the highest prize pools on the planet, and the Japanese taking the sport very seriously, wanting to compete on even footing with foreign horses. Right now, the prize pool for the Japan Cup is about $8.3 million, with first place claiming $3.8 million. And even though horse racing was seen as such an important sport in Japan, there was a problem. Interest was kind of waning. When you go to a horse track, you'd mostly see men who are in the older demographics. You wouldn't see teenagers, young adults, kids, or even women that much. In a way, if things kept going this way, then the sport would have probably died out in a couple of generations. It was simply seen as too old-fashioned. But all of this would change when a particular studio came up with a ridiculous idea. An idea, actually, that almost ruined their company's reputation and potentially could have bankrupted them.
Wait, how?
I'm of course talking about Uma Musume Pretty Derby. Cyber Agent is a Japanese company that was founded in 1998. They started out as a digital advertising company, but in 2011, they decided to expand in the ever-growing video game market. This is when they would create Cygames, a video game development studio. Cyber Agent would own the majority of the shares of Cygames, but sell a few to other companies, like for example, Nintendo, who owns 5% of Cygames. They would go on to create some pretty well-received games, like Shadowverse, a digital collectible.
Of course, Nintendo owns 5% because Nintendo owns everything in Japan.
Card game, and of course, Grand Blue Fantasy, which was critically acclaimed. But arguably, Cygames' most important game would end up being one of the first ones they'd ever release in 2011, titled The Idolmaster.
Oh, I've heard of that. I don't know what it's about, but I've heard of Idolmaster. I know that it's popular. That's pretty much all my knowledge.
Cinderella Girls. This game would be a part of the massive franchise known as The Idolmaster, owned by Bandai Namco, with the first ever game coming out in 2005. Many games for this franchise would release, and in 2011, that's when Cygames would release The Idolmaster Cinderella Girls. They made this on behalf of Bandai Namco. What was special about this game is that it was made for mobile phones. Back in 2011, Namco was seeing the rise of mobile games, and so that's when they asked Cygames to help. The premise was simple. You'd collect.
Nintendo is almost as old as Japanese horse racing, 1889. X, wasn't Nintendo like an originally a toy company before it became a video game company? I'm not sure, but I think that's right.
A bunch of idol girls and you would train them, raising their stats through lessons. You would then be able to do a number of things like customize their outfits and even spend money on cosmetics. There would also be many different minigames.
Oh, they're a card company, okay.
Including a multiplayer game mode where you can fight other players. The player with the most stats wins. Overall, it was simple, but extremely successful. This game was earning more than 1 billion yen a month.
Jeez.
Back then, that was around $13 million. It was revealed
That's
that more
crazy.
than 75% of players who got the game chose to pay for either in-game items or energy in order to play more. And according to this article, in August 2012, the game had made 9 million USD, which is more than the cost of developing the game. This game was
So they
making
were
more
rolling
money
in
monthly
dough.
than it cost to make. And all it did was just feature a bunch of idols that you trained, upped their stats, and got them different outfits. But you see, Bandai Namco is truly taking this franchise to the next level. It started as an arcade game, they made a mobile game, and they also made a manga as well as an anime that adapted that same manga. They were essentially using this
Smart.
franchise to build a media empire, and it was working very
capitalize on
damn
it.
well. They would continue to hire
Real
more
smart.
developers to create more entries in this franchise.
Like me, I'd be smart if I actually edited my videos to make them into YouTube videos, but I'm so damn lazy I never do it. But I swear, I'm going to someday.
And the most recent release would be in 2024, so it's still doing pretty damn well. This is when Cygames would have some sort of an epiphany. Even though this was owned by Bandai Namco, they were the ones who made this extremely successful game. And I mean, it made sense. Why wouldn't a game like that be a success? The idol industry in Japan is probably one of the biggest, most successful industries in entertainment.
True.
It involved
I
finding
mean, look at
someone young
Hololive.
with talent,
Also based off
absolutely
of
destroying
idols.
their lives with ridiculously rigid training and extremely unrealistic expectations. And once they get enough popularity, this is when you would milk their fans with a bunch of different media and merchandise. People will do anything for their idols. They'll literally buy a photo album of them, okay? This is why the idol industry is such a money printing machine. But here's a fun fact for you. When it comes to horse racing in the West, certain jockeys, who are the horse riders, might have fans. Sure, the horses that they ride also might have fans,
True.
but it wasn't anything crazy. In Japan, on the other hand, the horses had fans, all right. They had their own merch. They were recognized by name. Some even had superstitions made around them. I mean, this is just a talent Japanese people have to idolize anything they like. And as much as this sounded ridiculous, there was big market potential here. Cygames had made a very successful idol game, and yet, horse racing was a deeply historic.
I'm honestly kind of jealous of that. I've never had an obsession with something. Like, this is Gold Ship merch here about people who like the horse, and they're people that are fans of that. That's cool. I can't find stuff like that for me. I think I'm just too much dead on the inside.
Historical aspect of Japanese culture while also having those same idol traits. You know what else is interesting? When it comes to entertainment, the idol industry is very profitable, sure, but one thing Japanese people love to do is gamble, baby. A Japanese person not knowing pachinko is like an American not knowing what a burger is. At this point, it's practically cultural.
Let me look up some El Condor Pasta merch. Wait a second. That probably does exist. 1 second, I need to look up my my finances real quick.
I mean, look, it goes without saying that horse racing was very popular in Japan because of the whole gambling aspect of it. And now you can gamble on a simulated horse race. It's not even real. And you place your bets on this spaceship-looking machine, bro. This looks
Holy moly, I'm getting flashbacks of my childhood. Because there was things that existed like that too, as a little like kiosk that you went up to and placed your bet at. Holy moly.
insane. That's how much they love it. And finally, just like how idols and gambling are huge in the entertainment industry in Japan, we can't.
It's Dio. Okay. I get my old man anime cred. Though to be fair, I've never seen One Piece and I've never seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I've seen some of Sailor Moon when I was a teenager, and I've seen all of Naruto.
Forget to talk about anime. And in the early 2000s, many artists were having the amazing idea of giving
I don't know who any of these characters are, so I failed this one.
anime girls cat ears or just small animal features. Not to mention that there were already examples in media taking this a step further. Instead of giving them animal features, they would give them features of objects.
Left one is from Bleach. I've never seen Bleach.
Like how the game Azur Lane has you collect these hot anime women that are meant to be World War II battleships. I'm not even joking, bro. Look, this woman's called Azuma, and she's part of the large cruiser category.
I can definitely see the large cruisers.
She's stationed in the camp Sakura Islands. This is meant to be a battleship, bro, like an actual boat. Do you understand? And man, does she have some big cannons, let me tell you that much.
Hey,
I
we
don't know
went
who
for
the
the same
genius at
joke.
Cygames was, bro. It could be the CEO, it could be a producer. Someone had the brilliant idea to sit everyone down and say, hey, what if we combined all these elements together, right? For the gambling, we make a gacha game. For the anthropomorphic
the
cat girl
Earthbound
part,
music.
we make horse girls. And for the idol part, we base them off the most famous horses in Japan, while also making them sing and dance, because why not? Now, be honest, if you were one of those people listening to this pitch, would you have signed off on this? Because it obviously sounds ridiculous.
Would I have signed off on this if I lived in Japan and was Japanese? Probably, because all those things would have lined up and it just sounds on paper like a success. But as a Westerner, probably not. I probably would have been like, this is too niche. I don't think it'll catch on. And I would have been horribly wrong.
Right? Most people probably wouldn't have. But Cygames had top-tier drugs in their office because you know what? They said yes. They then wasted no time
they're
getting
smart.
started on developing the game, revealing it for the first time on the 21st of August 2016 at the Anime Japan Expo. Excitement for this game was actually already starting to build up, and that made more people want to know more details about Uma Musume. So on January 2017, the main content producer of Cygames, Akihiro Ishihara, was asked a bunch of different questions during an interview, and one of them was, please tell us about the development status. And he said, this game is about 25% complete.
Jeez.
Keep that number in mind. But for now, this interview had also revealed many of the horse girl designs, as well as the famous horses they're based on. It seemed like they knew what they were doing. And they had learned their lessons with Bandai Namco. They were going the Idolmaster route, not just aiming to make one good game, they wanted to make a media empire around Uma Musume. So just a couple months after that interview in March 2017, they released a manga. But they weren't done yet because they wanted to adapt this manga into an anime and were going to enlist the studio PA.
Has anyone seen the Horse Girl anime? Should I actually watch it? But I am considering it.
Works to do it. The plan was to release this anime in 2018 in parallel to the game's release. That way both would help each other and they would start off with a strong symbiotic media empire. That was the plan, except nothing, and I mean nothing, in regards to release dates
to it now that I played the game. Makes sense.
To plan. The Uma Musume Pretty Derby anime would release on April 1st, 2018. It wasn't just limited to Japan, it had a simulcast with Crunchyroll in select regions of the world. It was almost an instant success. Similarly to how people love the idea of cat girls, the idea of horse girls was also very well received. But a couple of aspects that it was really praised for were 1, its attention to detail, and 2, its very skilled world building. But we'll get to that later. Right now, there's a more pressing concern going on. As the anime was running, the game would release 3 more teasers on April 19th. It showcased a race, a live show, and a story/training section. I can't show you those videos because they've been privated, but overall, it seemed like everything was going according to plan, with the game scheduled to release around the end of 2018. This would be confirmed again on July 2018, with yet
PASA, so that's already a win.
With yet another trailer showing off the game and its mechanics, announcing at the end that it was going to release at the end of 2018. As people were waiting, wondering when the game was going to come out, Cygames took their sweet time and only announced on December 15th, 2018, literally the end of the year, that Uma Musume Pretty Derby has been delayed in order to raise the game's quality, saying that they will reveal the new release period at a later date. I mean, okay, not a big deal. I mean, it would have been nice if you told us earlier, but one delay doesn't hurt, especially if the game's going to be better for it, right? Well, the game got delayed again in 2019. And the new release date was slated to be in 2020. Now, Cyber Agent is a publicly listed company.
Oh, that's right. I forgot it came out in Japan way before it did for
so in
the
their
US.
Third quarter shareholder
Western,
meeting in 2020, they re-emphasized to their investors that Uma Musume Pretty Derby was going to be released in 2020, confirming that fact. Just a couple of months earlier, in May 2020, the managing director of Cygames confirmed yet again that Uma Musume Pretty Derby was releasing in 2020. But then, we got to December 2020 and the game was nowhere to be found. But yet again, in the final shareholder meeting of the year on December 12th, investors would be told that this game is still on track to release in 2020, but there were 2 weeks left in the year. It was safe to say that after previous delays, people weren't just thinking, oh, this game's going to be delayed again. They were also thinking, is this game ever going to release? How can you say in an interview in the beginning of 2017 that the game's almost 25% done with a 2018 release date, and yet here we are 2 years later, barely able to make the release? Usually this means that the game has no direction, that Cygames is dealing with an internal disaster. And what really reinforced this narrative is the fact that the game didn't even come out in 2020. We had reached 2021 and the game still had not released yet. It was only on February 24th,
Okay, to be
2021
fair, they
that the
didn't miss the
game had
deadline by that
finally
much.
released in Japan. And while it was cool that the game had finally come out, people didn't really know whether to be excited or worried. Especially with how Cyberpunk 2077 had released just a couple months earlier, and even though it's been delayed multiple times, had one of the worst launches in history. But you know what?
I didn't
As
play
hard as it was
Cyberpunk.
to believe, this was
I didn't play Cyberpunk at launch. I still haven't played it, to be honest. But I remember a lot of people being upset with the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. I hear it's fine now, though.
not the case with Uma Musume Pretty Derby. People were so addicted to the damn thing they couldn't stop playing. The gameplay loop definitely took inspiration from their work on Idolmaster.
Wait, let me see those stats. All right, this person plays a really well-rounded character. If this was me, they'd be like 800 speed, 200 stam, 200 power, 90 guts, and like 150 wit. This person's probably smart, huh?
Your horses, or horse anime girls, would have 5 different stats that you would train them on. You'd also have many different minigames and many ways to interact with your roster. You would then have your horse, or horse girl, race, competing against others in a bid to win first.
Wait a second. Where's my little like 5th place, 2nd place, 3rd place? That doesn't exist. Is that like only on the mobile version? 'Cause the PC version doesn't have these little icons here with the place. Oh, that's Team PvP. Oh, okay.
Place. These races would make your heart beat like crazy because there was always a chance that one of the horse girls could use a special ability, including your own, like you're seeing right here. You could be losing a race, and then your horse will all by themselves decide to do this in order to win. It just
I will say that sometimes it angers me to no end when I'm in a race and I have skills, like for an example, a recovery skill. I'm just like, please activate, please activate. I need you to activate. If you activate, you'll regen energy and you'll continue to be able to race at full speed, please. And then it doesn't activate. And I'm just there in tears, in shambles, saying, why? But then you have the opposite side of the coin. Pasta skill activates. And then you're just like, oh, baby, we're in it. Let's go. And then you get hyped. The game is just so damn good. It really, really is.
depends on their mood and how you've treated them. One could even say that this was more exciting than IRL horse racing.
It is. It really is. And I'm hooked now. And I don't know if I should be okay with that because I kind of am.
Thanks to all these factors. But the game wasn't over with just one horse girl. Eventually that horse girl would retire, just like IRL horses, kicking off the inheritance mechanic just like real life. Here's an example. This is the family tree of the very famous horse, Goldchip. As you can see, this is probably more complex than my own family tree, and I'm a human. It rivals the family tree of like some
Jeez.
royalty from the 1600s or something. This is all done with the goal of creating the most genetically engineered monster that can dominate any race.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of chocobo breeding in Final Fantasy VII, I think it was, where you had to do all that stuff to get the golden chocobo. That's what this reminds me of.
And that's what you kind of do in Uma Musume as well. The hard work that you put into your now retired horse girl can now be incorporated into your new horse girl by using her as one of her coaches. So in a way, you also become more of a genetic scientist and try to create the perfect horse girl after many different runs. This gameplay loop was so addicting, it was like playing a Civilization game, screaming one more turn as
That's not Civ 5. What is that, like Civ 4? I don't recognize this one. To be fair, I've only played Civ 5 and Civ 6.
the police is confiscating your phone from you because you haven't eaten in 3 days. People
That's 6 or 7? Wait, really? It looks a little too cartoony. Oh, that's right. They did make 6 more cartoony. I forgot about that.
couldn't stop playing it. But as this game became so popular in Japan, it started somewhat suffering from success, you could say. You see, usually, the people who own some of the best racehorses in the world happen to be some very wealthy and successful people. Seeing that Uma Musume's characters are based on
were they
real-life
getting
horses,
mad?
they had to go and ask each of these owners their permission to have them in the game. The owners agreed to do that free of charge, not charging any money. This was seen
Right.
as a very cool and kind gesture
But now, since the game is so successful, all of a sudden, maybe we should have charged for our likeness.
from them. But here's the thing, these weren't just horses, these were anime girls that were in many cases pretty. And usually when you present Japan with a pretty anime girl, they will instinctively almost want to draw some pretty lewd fan art. That was a problem.
Oh, never mind. This went way off where I was thinking.
Cygames knew it was a problem, so they created very specific fan-created content guidelines.
Wait, do they tell you not to lewd the horse girls? Oh, yeah. right there, number 2. Works of violent or I don't want to say it because censorship or otherwise obscene nature. You can't lewd the horse girls.
Outlining rules, saying you can't make fan art with the intent to injure the reputation of this franchise or other third parties. You can't do any lewd stuff. You can't do any violent stuff. The owners of these horses did not want to see their horses participate in anything like that.
Now, since it's the internet, I'm 90% positive that no one followed Rule 2.
Was a red line for them, but that didn't necessarily make people want to listen. Now, of course, usually if you were to break these rules, Cygames would just send you a takedown notice and sue you if you don't comply. But of course, this would be too boring for a franchise like Uma Musume. So some people came up with a rumor that now is regarded as truth in many different circles and has spread like wildfire. If you draw any lewd art of Uma Musume girls, the Yakuza will knock on your door and hurt you. Okay, so as far as I can tell, this all started with this stupid tweet. A Japanese person tweeted this out, saying, the reason why Japanese artists can't draw Uma Musume porno art is that Uma Musume is based on real racehorses and their owners are like mafia bosses who control the Japanese economy and we don't want to offend them. This was tweeted on March 11th, 2021, so very shortly after the game released. Now, I don't know how much attention this initial tweet got, but what really brought attention to this was the second tweet this person would make, saying, please retweet as much as you can for people overseas. It included that original tweet and another image, with that person saying, the content of the tweet and the image is complete bullshit. It is a falsehood that amounts to defamation of the racehorse owners. I have insulted the owners of racehorses and other people involved in horse racing, as well as the staff of the
corrected himself that he was just messing around.
Racehorse owners are people who are sincerely committed to the culture of horse racing. They are not involved in antisocial organizations. In addition, I tried to make overseas artists complicit in the prohibition of secondary works that significantly worsen the image of the project, which is clearly stated in the official guidelines.
Now that I think about it, this was extremely risky for him to say, even if he was joking around, considering defamation laws in Japan are way, way more strict than they are in the US. Even if you're right and you're saying things that are true, you can still be sued for defamation in Japan.
This is all due to my short-sightedness and arrogance. I would like to express my deepest apologies to everyone involved and to all those who have supported me. So this apology was definitely overkill to the initial tweet. It was clearly like some kind of a joke, I guess.
True, but if Japanese lawyers contacted him, I'm pretty sure that's why his apology was so in-depth.
It was almost like this person had, I don't know, murdered someone. This made people assume that this person got caught by the Yakuza and forced, right?
Nah, no way. It was definitely probably legal threats because of defamation laws and Japan's defamation laws, because he insinuated that the horse owners were owned by Yakuza, and that's already reputational damage right there.
Gunpoint to make this apology, because that's what it sounds like. As you can see here, the top comment is, so they found you? And the person said, no, it's not. It's just that I made the wrong statement. Someone else said, I'm guessing they gave you a call. To which this person said, no, it doesn't. Someone said, I'm sorry to hear that the racehorse mafia got to you. Had no idea Japan even had such an intense culture of racehorsing, let alone one run by gangsters. Then that person replied with, please don't tell us such bullshit. This person was so easy to troll. And this eventually got...
To be fair, though, English isn't his first language, assuming he wasn't, like, translating it. So, it's a little bit picking on a person who doesn't speak English, probably. But, I mean, it's the internet. It is what it is.
Got posted on Reddit, ironically saying, turns out old-fashioned Yakuza are alive and well in Japanese horse racing industry. They are sending goons to stop doujin artists from making drawings of Uma Musume project characters. All of these events have resulted in this becoming a full-fledged meme. Whenever someone mentions, man, I'd love to draw these characters in lewd poses, someone always comes in and comments, hey man, you don't want to do that, the Yakuza's gonna get you. And while it's funny, it's gotten a lot of people to actually believe it, especially overseas. But the truth is that Yakuza doesn't own any of the horses, and that gambling is heavily regulated by the JRA, the Japanese Racing Association.
Yeah, isn't essentially the Yakuza dead in Japan? I mean, I'm pretty sure they exist, but overall, they don't hold anywhere near the institutional powers that they held in like the 80s, the 70s. Now it's pretty much kind of like how the mafia is in the US, a shell of its former self.
So no, if you draw lewd art, the Yakuza aren't going to knock on your door, but you might get a DMCA notice from a lawyer. But regardless, Yakuza hiccups aside...
They do still exist and they still have their hands in things. I assume to like an extent, but I would assume not as widespread as it was though, right?
This game was making bank. In 2021 alone, even though they released 1 month after the year had began in February, they had made over $1 billion. And by March
Holy.
2025, they had made a total of $2.5 billion since release.
That's 2.5 billion USD because it doesn't say yen. So holy moly, people love their horse girls.
This is an insane amount of money, but what's even more insane is that 90% or more of its revenue came purely from Japan. Cygames had the Japanese population in its chokehold. And as I mentioned, these weren't just young adults. There would be endless stories of people going on the metro, going to a restaurant, going outside, and seeing someone way older than them or way younger than them playing this game on their phone. It became cultural. But here's the thing, Japan, even though open to the rest of the world, still has a very particular market. Just because something is successful there does not mean in any way that it'll be successful anywhere else, especially when it comes to the topic of gacha games. So when it came to finally launching the game globally on June 26, 2025, more than 4 years after launching it in Japan, people didn't really know what to expect.
I'm honestly surprised that they waited so long to have a global release. Normally, global releases are a couple months after. I'm going to assume they assumed it wasn't going to do well, but well, they were wrong.
It was reasonable to think that it was going to just die out in a few months, with Japan continuing to be its main revenue source. Except what it did was inconceivable. It was absolutely dominating the Steam charts. As you saw in the intro, it became the #1 most downloaded game on Steam at some point, also becoming an instant success on mobile. But what's really interesting here is that it managed to recreate exactly what happened in Japan, but globally, which
And not only that, since it was #1, I got a free 1,500 carats, so I'm just saying.
was not having a target demographic, reaching everyone equally. Here's a fun example. Northern Lion is a streamer who's 36 years old. He would not, in any way, be the target demographic of a game like Uma Musume Pretty Derby. No way in hell. But his channel
I feel this so much. I feel this so much right now. Because that's exactly where I was.
chat kept pestering him, please download the game, give it a shot, for the love of God, you'll love it. And eventually, he gave in. Now, Northern Lion is a pretty big streamer. He'll usually average around 15,000 viewers. But when he streamed Uma Musume, he had reached his all-time peak of 40,000 live viewers.
Holy moly. The power of horse girls.
And you know what the craziest part is? He absolutely loved it, okay? He felt
That's where I was too. I was like, this is gonna just be a meme. I'll play this one time, but now I'm in.
in love with the game, the characters, everything. He even had Japanese players seeing some of the reactions from Western players thinking, wow, we gotta up our game because these guys are way more passionate than us. Look at this.
Come on, Gold Ship, put it into high gear. I need all you got right now. The Kentucky Derby's on the line.
I don't have a camera, but that's literally stuff I was doing when Pasa was winning. Not smacking my butt, but jumping up and down, pacing the room. At least I know I'm not the only one.
Come on!
It was, with no exaggeration, taking over the entire internet. And it showed in the stock
Need a
price of
camera.
Cyber Agent, the parent company of Cygames, with its stock market price going up like crazy. But why is that? How is this game such a success, so highly rated, both in Japan and overseas? We've established that the gameplay loop is fun, sure, but there are a lot of games like that. This isn't just a game at this point, it's a cultural phenomenon. So what was something that it did that other games weren't even close to achieving? Well, the horses. Alright, so remember how I mentioned that this game's anime was praised for having immense attention to detail and world building? Well, the game was very similar in that regard too. Seeing that all these anime horse girls were
Pasa instantly saw. Oh, and there's Taiki Shuttle there too. Is Top Gun here? No, there's no Top Gun. All right, we got Pasa though.
based on real-life horses, Cygames did their homework and examined every single horse and its very specific personality. incorporating all these aspects into their anime character. But that's not all. When it comes to the world of Uma Musume, many things in there were based on real-life locations, like racetracks and areas around it. We're talking anything from train stations to the convenience store where the horse girls buy their carrots.
Oh, wow.
This wasn't just attention to detail. This was making landmarks out of IRL locations and attributing important history to them. Additionally, this world wasn't just made in like
I've said
one
it before,
evening. It made
and I'll
sense.
say it again. This game really should not have gone hard as it has.
And that's
It goes
because its
hard.
world building was very well made. Horse girls in this world are seen as a different type of species. They're treated as well as humans, there's no discrimination, and instead they have a real place in this world. With certain gadgets, for example, made specifically for them. Look at this extremely long phone. It's to accommodate her horse ear.
I didn't even
and her
notice that.
mouth. I mean, look at this stupid seat right here. It's made specifically for horse girls so that they don't get uncomfortable with their tail.
What if a guy sits on that backwards, though?
There's even historical landmarks in the anime, like how there are Moai statues on Easter Island with horse girls. They even took famous Japanese horse racing paintings and converted them to accommodate the world. As you can see, these are horse girls racing here. So from a world point of view, this already made sense. The attention to detail was there. And so when it came to the actual personalities of each horse, guys, they couldn't have done a better job. For example, one of the most famous horses in Japanese racehorsing history is Goldship. This is a horse who ran...
I watched the video about the actual Goldship, thinking it was about the anime girl, horse girl Goldship, but instead learned about real Goldship, and it was interesting. It was educational.
28 races and won 13 times. An incredible record. But what really made Goldship famous is that he was an absolute diva with the ridiculously unique and rage-baiting personality. In 2015, Goldship had a total of 12 billion yen betted on him. People were confident that he would win just like he won his other races.
Yeah, he got mad at the horse next to him named Jackal and kicked up his legs and had an extremely late start because the other horse he was mad at.
What we got instead was the day known as the 12 billion yen incident, when he would do this. Watch.
Yeah, he goes on his hind legs because, the other horse pissed him off.
He would simply refuse to race. Everyone would go except him. He didn't care. He just didn't feel like it, and so he didn't race, losing people 12 billion yen in bets. Now, this is how Goldship would look in the game and in general in the Uma Musume universe. They would recreate the same incident in the anime series. Watch.
That's good.
And just so you know, they brought back the same exact woman who was casting that day to voice in the anime. Guys, the attention to detail is ridiculous.
That is impressive. An impressive attention to detail. I didn't know that.
So seeing that Goldship was an absolute diva, yet at the same time very skilled, Cygames made sure to incorporate that into Uma Musume Pretty Derby.
I want to do a Goldship run. I want to get Top Gun done. I want to get a career complete with Top Gun, and then I want to get a career complete with Goldship. That's my plan.
She'd be very skilled, very talented, and yet would have crazy mood swings, refusing to train, and sometimes, even though having the best stats, would just refuse to race, like they're not giving a single shit. This eccentric personality would so accurately be translated into the game that it would create a new overseas fan club for this IRL horse. I mean, look at this. This is a video of Goldship in retirement, literally just hanging out. It has over 2.2 million views. This is just a horse hanging out for 2 minutes, not doing anything except fooling around. That's how much of a sensation he became because of this game and his history. I mean, look, most people would have just stopped there and moved on to a different topic, but not with me, you won't. Goldship's personality wouldn't just end with him being a diva. He would also be one of the most successful breeders, with a successful mating rate of 99.1%, having over 500 children, with a few of them becoming absolute champions.
Damn. Goldship. What a Chad.
Fact, according to some staff, after he would finish mating with a mare, she would then refuse to mate with anyone else but Goldship. That's just how good he is, man. But I guess it also explains why he enjoyed it so much. He would swing his cucumber from side to side because of how excited he was, I know this is like a ridiculous amount of detail, but people look into this. That's how obsessed they are with Goldship. This isn't just because he was skilled or a massive diva, he was a rage baiter. Like the whole 12 billion yen incident, but also the fact that his trainers realized that, wait a second, in his retirement, he's running even faster than he used to run back when he was still a racehorse, making them realize that he never used his full potential while being a racehorse, almost as if on purpose to spite his trainers.
He was sandbagging the whole time? What a beast.
This made people realize that horses aren't just creatures that we share a special connection with. They also have many unique and diverse personalities. Most people have a hard time seeing that though, because we don't really interact with horses that much anymore. So turning them into anime horse girls with proper world building around them made us finally appreciate their very deep and valuable personalities. And no one received more appreciation than the horse Haru Urara. You see, when
Oh yeah, that's the one you guys were telling me about. That is the fan favorite when I asked a couple days ago.
she was young, she would go unsold at an auction. Seeing that no one wanted to buy her, she was entrusted to the cheapest racecourse to run in Japan. Her trainers thought that this would be a good chance for her to maybe win since she had a hard time training. But then she went on to lose 113 races in a row, never winning once.
Oh.
However, when she had lost her 87th race in a row, the race announcer, Koji Hashiguchi, would be absolutely shocked at this statistic. He was like, dude, this like never happens. Most horses would have given up by now. They would have retired. So he sent her racing record to national media outlets thinking, dude, this is insane. Like, you got to talk about this. And they did, which made her ridiculously famous. People started going in droves to where she raced, the Kochi racecourse. The wives of the jockeys, the people who rode the horses, took advantage of this and started making merchandise. And get this, at a certain point, people would go to this racecourse just to bet on Haru Urara, knowing very well that they were going to lose, but they would love that because then they'd use that betting ticket as a protective charm for car accidents. They believed that it held special powers, bro. You understand what I'm talking about here? This horse had superstitions made around it. I mean, this was such a big boom that Haru Urara had single-handedly saved the Kochi racecourse from going bankrupt. They were able to pay off all their debts thanks to her. And today, as you can see, Haru Urara is painted on the side here. That's how much of a legend she is. Seeing that she's in the game of Uma Musume Pretty Derby, this prompted both Japanese and global players to select her to try and give her the win that she so very deserved in real life, making her one of the most popular characters in the game. This renewed attention from the global audience with their love for Haru Urara eventually allowed them to find out that they can send gifts to her in her retirement because she's still alive. They could send her some premium ryegrass directly. They sent 2.7 tons of ryegrass.
Holy.
Usually one person could buy $40 worth, which is 5 kilograms. But people crashed the donation website, and now we're sitting at 2.7 tons. This is an image of this little cutie receiving her gifts, and it's prompted people to draw fan art of this phenomenon.
2.7 tons is insane.
I mean, look at how much ryegrass is in front of her. She has enough food until the end times. 2.7 tons, you're insane. In fact, thanks to this game and its renewed attention on these horses and their accomplishments, many of them, who are now in retirement, are receiving many donations, able to fully enjoy their older years.
That's wholesome.
This is because this game didn't just make a lot of money and renew interest in horse racing, but it has single-handedly revitalized the entire horse racing industry globally, specifically in Japan. In the world of horse racing, sometimes, unfortunately, racehorses are not able to retire. This can happen for a number of reasons, but usually it's because there's not enough funding. Back when this game released in Japan, it fueled a movement of people donating to many of these famous retired horses, ensuring that they not only live a good life, but that they can continue to live in general. But retirement isn't fun if you just have money. It's also nice when you meet people, when you still interact socially. Many of these retired racehorses started receiving visitors, so much so that Uma Musume had to release an official guideline on how to visit stables and what to do in order to be respectful. For famous horses such as Haru Urara or Goldship, visits sell out immediately as soon as they're posted. This has led some crazy, ridiculous fans to sneak onto the stable grounds sometimes just to see the horses.
People can never just enjoy a good thing. There always has to be the bad eggs that ruin it for everyone else.
Cygames completely denouncing that and saying you shouldn't do that, stop. But that wasn't all. Cygames was making a lot of money from this game, and they understood that there's a mutual benefit here. If horse racing thrives, they thrive too. And so the president of cyber agents, Susumu Fujita, has become a high roller when it comes to buying expensive horses and raising them for races. always being one of the leading buyers when it comes to horse auctions in Japan. So far, he has spent easily over $10 million making up his own fleet of racehorses. And he's not
I mean, are we really surprised that the person that created the game also enjoys horse racing?
planning on stopping.
I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand.
But this isn't just about Japan. This is about horse racing globally. In May of this year, they had announced a partnership with the 151st Kentucky Derby, the most watched and most attended horse race in the United States, taking place since the year 1875. And you had this anime girl horse racing game being their biggest sponsor. This also extends to Paris. As you saw in the intro, they're not just sponsoring the Grand Prix de Paris, but they're the main sponsor. And I mean, look, if you show me an image of horse racing, I probably would think, oh, cool. But if I was a young person and saw a poster like this, I'd think, whoa, whatever this is, I want this. Where can I get tickets? It's an extremely mutually beneficial partnership. Additionally, racehorsing merchandise has had a boom in Japan ever
When do you guys think we're going to get people cosplaying as the horse girls on a racetrack racing? Because you know that's going to happen at some point.
since the game had
Probably already happened. Yeah, true.
come out, truly turning this into an animal idol industry. These dolls, for example, they sell out like crazy. It's actually very hard to get them, especially if you're outside of Asia. Actually, I think they're keychains, but you get the point. Side Games was essentially making a lot of money from this, but they were using it for good things, making this industry a better place, helping treat retired horses even better, and in general being a positive force in the community. This reminds me how at some point Hoyoverse, the creators of Genshin Impact, had invested in a nuclear fusion reactor, and in 2024 it became operational. Who would have thought that you spending money on characters in a gacha game was going to end up somehow in a nuclear fusion reactor in Singapore? Overall, this industry is revived. It's back. Audiences now feature women, young people, middle-aged people, demographics that horse racing usually wouldn't be able to reach. This has already been happening in Japan, and I'm sure it'll start happening globally thanks to this game. I can't help but laugh when I say this, but it's true. This anime girl horse racing gacha game has somehow been able to single-handedly revive this entire sport while somehow making the world a better place. It's crazy, but it's where we are today. I hope I was able to explain why this game took over the world and why it's continuing to, and I really appreciate you watching until the end. This is a fairly different video from what I usually do on my channel, but hey, I figured it would be fun. Now the sponsor does want me to end this video with a message, so before I'll do that, I'll thank you again, say that I love you, and mwah, see you next time. Thank you so much.
Oh, nice. I even got a free smooch out of it. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I will say that I am super sold on the Horse Girl game. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I have been. I'm having a ton of fun playing it when I do, and it made me way more interested in horse races than I thought I would be. But big W, big W's all around.